going to go ahead and kick it off. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on understanding the steps between acceptance and enrollment. My name is Derek Terrell, and I'm the Director of Member Engagement with the Coalition for College. We're actually using Zoom webinar right now, so we do have the Q&A function enabled, so feel free to ask your questions throughout the presentation, and we'll address those at the end during the Q&A portion. But before we get started, would love to see where you all are from, where you're tuning in from. So feel free to drop your city, state, country, wherever into the chat so we know who's here. I'll start first. I'm in Oakland, California at the moment. All right, awesome. So we'll go ahead and advance to the next slide. So I'm going to share a little bit of information with you all about why these three wonderful schools have gathered here together today. And it's because they're all a part of the Coalition for College. So the Coalition for College is actually made up of over 150 colleges and universities that have a proven commitment to access, affordability, and student success. Awesome. So we believe that Coalition schools are smart college choices because of the commitment that they all share. So Coalition schools are dedicated to graduating students on time with low or no debt, and this includes those that have been historically excluded and underrepresented in higher ed. So you can see on the next slide, the members of the Coalition, 150 schools, if you were to bring them all together, they have undergraduate enrollments as small as 347 all the way to 66,000. So lots of variety of smart college choices for you to choose from, which you all hopefully have already done by now. And then as you can see there's selectivity ranges from 4 to 96%. If you were to take all of the Coalition schools and add them together, these schools who are on this panel included, they have graduation and retention rates that are collectively 17% higher than the national average. So these are schools that are going to make sure that you get into the school, stay there, and then graduate on time. So if you ever want to connect with us at the Coalition outside of this, you can email our info box, which is here, and also follow us on Instagram for all sorts of inspiration about college and all of those things to your feed. So now I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to our admissions counselors at these schools.
All right, so I can kick it off with introductions. My name is Kimberly McCullough, and I serve as the Assistant Director for Diversity and Access at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte in North Carolina.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ian McLean. I'm a Senior Admissions Officer at Columbia Undergraduate Admissions in New York City. Really excited to share some knowledge with y'all today.
Hi, everyone. My name is Troy Lazaro. I'm the Senior Assistant Director of Multicultural Recruitment at UMass Lowell. We are located 25 minutes north of Boston in the city of Lowell, and I'm here to share information with you guys about this awesome topic we got for you today.
Awesome. So I will get us started. Troy, do you mind going back just a few slides? All right, so now that you all have seen the presentation, you know exactly what it is that I'm going to talk about today. Just kidding. So today's topic is all about a conversation for you all to know more about your next steps after receiving your college acceptance. I think it's important to note that college is a transition in every sense of the word, and a lot of those feelings and emotions that you get come right after receiving your acceptance letter because you're wondering, what should I do next? So we're here to talk more about that today, and we can go ahead and advance to the next slide. So first things first, rest in peace, Uncle Phil. Just kidding. The important thing to note for all of you all is that college can be very scary. And that is okay to have those feelings. One huge aspect and component of going from your acceptance letter is making sure that you're having those conversations with your family members, with your friends and your advisors and mentors so that you can make a more informed college decision. And Troy, we can go to the next slide. Awesome. So what I want to do today in this portion of the presentation is really break down those fears that you all may have and may be sensing. Again, it is perfectly okay to not know what your next steps are after receiving your college acceptance letters. For those of you who have applied to one college or university or 10, it can still be a very daunting feeling to think about, oh, like what is my life going to look like after high school graduation? And we're here to eliminate all of those fears for you today. And we can go ahead and advance. The first step that you all want to do is to celebrate your achievements. Receiving a college acceptance is a huge deal, y'all. I know that it's very common for students to want to attend a college or university and that be their next step after high school graduation. There are some students who will choose to go into the workforce, the military, into technical programs, and all of those pathways are valid, right? But it's important for you all to recognize that you are doing a wonderful job just by applying to these colleges and universities, taking time to apply for scholarships, and really considering what your future is going to look like. And we're happy that you did choose to apply to one of our colleges or universities or a coalition college. And we can go ahead to the next slide. All right. So again, very awesome that you all have been admitted. So congratulate yourselves and definitely give yourselves a huge pat on the back. You also want to make sure that you're focusing on what it is that you're looking for in a college or university. So we're going to outline a few of those next steps for you in just a few slides. But the main thing that I like to emphasize for my students is to get the best feel for a college or university, you definitely want to visit. This is going to allow you all to see where all of the great residence halls are, or dorm rooms. If you're interested in going to a university that has different clubs or organizations, that's something that you can research on their website. And the cool thing about a lot of our colleges and universities is that if you can't actually physically visit in person, they also have virtual tours on their website. So make sure that you're expounding upon all of the capabilities that you have within a college or university. That way, you can make a more informed decision. These are the next steps for you all to consider when it comes to deciding on or making your final college decision. So if you would like, you can take a screenshot of this list, but we'll go into more detail about what these next steps look like for you in just a few slides. And I will pass it over to Ian, who will talk about how to make your final decision.
Thank you so much, Kim. All right, y'all. So for the next few slides, we're going to talk about what that actual transition looks like, making those next steps after you receive one or multiple college acceptances within the spring semester. So on the next slide, we'll get to first, organizing things on your own, thinking about what are your priorities and what matters the most to you when choosing between schools. So first, here we have match. Are these different components of institutions, their academics, research opportunities, selectiveness, major, financial aid, are all of these what you feel best matches with your academic profile or what you're looking for? So thinking about different majors and how they look different between separate colleges, institutions, what experiences are available for students in the majors that you're looking for. A visual arts major or pre-med program can look very different between different kinds of institutions. And so looking into different websites or emails, communications that you've received can be really helpful in creating a plan for determining which school is best for you and your plan. Then there's fit. Thinking about things outside of academics. You're going to school to go to school, but you're also going to be a community member and potentially a leader involved in different parts of the school's way of moving through the next 4 years. And so thinking about the size of the student body, are you into having a more tight-knit environment? We noted the different ranges of population sizes that schools can have when they're coalition partners. So do you value perhaps a small town vibe, or do you want a school that's in a bigger city that has a larger community? What do you feel like is best for you? Then looking at the different offices, resources, departments that are available for students. Are there D1 athletics, huge different sports that you can get into, Are there smaller teams where you might have a chance to be more involved or build a different kind of culture? Looking into these different priorities, there's so many different ways that this can look for students. It's about finding what matters the most to you and prioritizing accordingly. On the next slide, we'll look at financial aid, which is absolutely essential as well. This is a bottom line for many students and families. Luckily, with Coalition Schools, this is a priority of our institutions to be able to make sure that students are able to afford their undergraduate journeys. But it is going to look different from school to school. We are all admissions representatives here. We're not financial aid officers, so we can't quite give detailed advice or information on financial aid. However, there are a lot of great resources on the Coalition site and on our financial aid websites as well that can help to equip you with tools that you can use to better learn about how to make college affordable for you. But looking at your different institutions, checking out net price calculators, or comparing the different packages that you have been given from institutions, or for those where you're still having to wait for financial aid, where you're still having to apply. These are different forms that you should keep in mind and think about filling out. There are multiple sessions held by the Coalition and by our institutions to walk through what each of these looks like. So the FAFSA for federal aid, the CSS profile for institutional aid, and then separate forms and tax documents that different institutions might require. And then there are scholarships. Perhaps you've received a financial aid disbursement or estimate from a school, but there might be more that you'd need to be able to afford the college experience. So looking at outside scholarships and different resources there that you can use to help pay for the college experience that you're looking most forward to. So Coalition and many other websites can also be great resources to use to navigate how to apply and when to apply, as that is a very, very essential next step as well, thinking about how to get through the next few years. And then on the last slide, this is something that Kimberly already touched on, but the most exciting part of the spring is when, after you've been admitted, you actually get to visit the schools and visit with other students who have been admitted, visit with the communities that are at these institutions. This can happen, as was already mentioned, in person or virtually, but schools are so excited to welcome you to their institutions after they admit you. They'll have multiple programs available. That could be visit days, that could be recorded sessions that they'll share with you, panels, perhaps student showcases or concerts, all different ways that they like to showcase and welcome you to what is possible for you within your next few years at their institution. So use these as opportunities. These are all meant for you to be able to ask good questions about what is the community like, working through those priorities that you had already set out for yourself that we talked about in the last couple of slides, but really thinking about where would I be most comfortable. By visiting a school, this is going to give you the best chance of getting to know what it might feel like to actually be there, and can give you a really powerful way of choosing between multiple different institutions. So visit as you're able, again, in person or virtually, to get a sense of, is this really where I feel like I want to be? So asking those students around you who also got in to see how they're feeling about what this college is like, or then asking current students at those institutions can be great ways to get to acquaint yourself with those institutions that you've been admitted to and see where's the best place for me. And then on the next few slides, I'll let Choi take care of that too, actually talk about the decision making.
So yeah, thank you, man. It's time to make the decision, right? After we've gone through the steps that you heard about, you've done your visits, you checked your financial aid, you know, you kind of laid everything out on the table, so to speak, with yourself, with your family, or whoever else is helping you make the decision. Now it's kind of time to, you know, take your hand and close your eyes, and I guess slam your hand down on whatever of the many choices that you've made that kind of equal each other out, right? You want to make the best choice. So having that decision, pulling that trigger, so to speak, and being able to, you know, feel good about your choice. So you've weighed out all your options, as we spoke about earlier. You took a look at, you know, where the colleges are, the student body on the colleges, how did I feel when I visited, what was the food like? Did I enjoy the food? Because you're gonna have to wake up every morning and get something to eat. You're gonna have to eat at that cafeteria. So hopefully you like that food, and that food isn't the type of food that runs through you so quickly to the point where you're not getting nourished enough, or you don't want to eat, or whatever it is. Or if the town is not necessarily the town that kind of fits you right. So you weighed all of this out. You found out what all of these factors kind of weigh into your decision. You're feeling good, you're pumped up, and once again, it's kind of like you got your eyes closed, because you don't know exactly what's going to happen in the future. You just have hope and faith that your decision is going to work out, and you know that you've worked this hard up to this point to get to where you are, and you've got a good feel about what you're about to do. Now it's time to get some power behind it. So enrolling into your college and your university, you made your choice, you made your decision, you got your faith, you got your power. Now, what are some of the logistical things that I need to do to make sure that everything is dotted, all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, things like that? So your enrollment deposit. Each school has a different cost for their enrollment deposits, and they can range. So that's one of the things that you actually might want to start doing now, is starting to get in contact with these colleges to find out how much the enrollment deposit is. You can contact the admissions offices, and they can let you know about what the end enrollment deposit is. And in some cases, there's schools that allow you to roll your enrollment deposit into your overall bill. Let's say, for instance, at one school, it's $350. Now, you've got all your other money set, but you weren't thinking about a $350 extra piece that you have to add. You can call and speak with the universities and say, well, I don't have this money up front. I have money, allocated for different areas, but not for that. Is it possible that I can get that 350 or whatever it might be rolled into my overall bill? And in a lot of cases you can, so you don't have to pay it up front, but just remember that it is going to be a part of your overall bill. So whatever you have worked out with financial aid as to what your payments are going to be per semester, you have to factor in that 350 or whatever it is for that university is going to be in that bill. Setting up your student account, your student IDs, your emails, even specific classes might have, especially nowadays, they might have specific apps for you to get into, Blackboard, things like that. It all depends. You want to make sure that you get those accounts set up so that you're getting all your information in on time, as far as, you're receiving emails, being able to, register for class, know where assignments are coming in for different classes. If there's apps that you have to download, making sure all your accounts are lined up and you have all of your passwords and IDs set for that. A checklist for your next steps. Make sure you're going over, okay, now I've got this, what else do I need to do? Do I need to start, figuring out what I'm going to be bringing to school, because you have your summer orientation coming up next. Most summer orientations are going to be a overnight orientation. So that's kind of like your first step into feeling what it's going to be like to go to sleep and wake up the next day at the school, knowing in part what you need to bring to make it from one day to the next. And then you're going to times that by a whole school year and know, these are the things that I need to make it, physically throughout the year. Financial aid, scholarships, payment plans, as we spoke about earlier, you're going to be able to kind of have those, in place. Your family's going to be able to have those in place, so you're not missing payments. You're not missing out on, adding your scholarships to the university, because you might have some outside scholarships that are coming to you, but you forgot to send them to the university, or you forgot to cash that check. You want to make sure that all those things are in on time, because especially if you're getting financial aid, or should I say scholarships from outside of the university, they might be time dated to the point where you have to receive the check by this time, cash the check by this time, or you have to check your account by this time. So all of those different things actually play a part. So making sure that your financial situation, your financial aid, scholarship, and payment plans are in line. Back to the housing piece, am I staying in a double? Am I staying in a triple? Am I staying in a quad? Connecting with your roommates. What am I bringing compared to what you have? Are we sharing this? Should I have my own this? There's nothing wrong with reaching out to your roommates to get that done. back in the days when I went to school, which was like 100 million years ago, you literally had to, make a long distance phone call to whoever your roommate was and have that conversation with them and their parents and figure out, what their parents were bringing compared to what your parents were bringing, that type of stuff. Now you guys have like social media and, texting and all that other type of stuff. So it makes it a little bit easier, but definitely connecting with those, with your roommates is a big deal. Making sure you have all your health forms in. Now is the most important time for that. Especially with COVID and what we're dealing with now, making sure that your college has all the specific health information that they need to get you going, because you don't want to start off with a flag, which is going to hold you back from registering for classes. So, vaccinations, any other health forms that the university needs, you want to make sure that you get that to them. So you're not worried about, oh my gosh, I can't, enter into this class. I can't register for this class because I have a hold. And the hold ends up being a health hold or a vaccination hold. And then anything else you have questions about, you definitely want to start, I would say, because we are in the admissions field, start with admissions. Admissions should be your kind of concierge to any of those areas throughout the university that they can help direct you towards getting those answers. So definitely connect back with your admissions counselors if you have any other questions outside of what we spoke about today. And it's okay if you forget and you call them 3 and 4 times about the same thing. They'll guide you 3 and 4 times to where you need to go to get that help. There you go. There you go. It may be glitter. Some of you guys might be coming up north. Hopefully the snow will be melted by then. It could be, but you never know. So there it is. So right now, let the team kind of like do their little outro and, kind of speak about who they are and how you can connect with us individually if you have any questions. Once again, I was there. My picture is there. So, you guys can connect with me. Once again, I'm Troy Lazaro at UMass Lowell. You can connect with me at Troy Lazaro _ Lazaro at uml.edu.
Right, and I'm Kimberly McCullough again at UNC Charlotte, the best university in North Carolina for sure. So if you all are interested in enrolling or attending, you can feel free to reach out to us at any point in time at the email on the screen.
And then for myself, this was Ian McLean. It was a pleasure connecting with y'all. Looking forward to answering some questions. But if you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to ugrad-ask@columbia.edu. Always happy to connect and share resources for getting to know our university, but also answering questions about admissions generally.
Right, awesome. So now we're going to go into a Q&A portion here, and I see that some of you have dropped some questions into the Q&A, so feel free to continue doing that, and I will moderate some of these questions. So we can go ahead and we can go ahead and stop sharing, and you'll just see all of our wonderful faces as we answer the questions. So the first question that I see that's in the Q&A is it unethical to pay the enrollment fee at more than one university? So the student has narrowed down their choices, but they want to wait before making a final decision. Do you want to take that, Kim?
Yeah, I can take this question. So full disclaimer, although the national decision deadline for most colleges and universities is May 1st, all you really have to do is contact your college or university that you're interested in attending and let them know, hey, I'm waiting on a financial aid package from another institution, and you all are really, one of my top choices, but I just want to make the best decision for me and my family financially. Is there any way that I can be granted an extension until I make up my final decision? And that is perfectly fine. So it's all about communication there. I personally would not recommend paying multiple enrollment deposits. Some universities, they are non-refundable. So you just want to take that into consideration. But the best thing that you can do for yourself is just call and ask what are there policies surrounding paying the enrollment deposit? Is it refundable if I decide that I can no longer attend? Or will I be able to get granted an extension to make my final enrollment decision? And at UNC Charlotte, we do not have an enrollment deposit for students. So just know that for some universities, colleges and universities, there is no enrollment deposit. So those are great questions that you all can ask.
Awesome. Thank you, Kimberly. So definitely ask questions. Do not be afraid to ask questions. That is definitely going to be a theme I think that we will hear. And another question came about deferring enrollment fees to more than one school. And I think that probably goes right along to what Kimberly was saying. So don't pay when you don't have to, just reach out and be in communication with the schools. So another question that's here is, how does registering for classes work? Do you want to take that, Troy?
Yeah, I mean, it can be different at each institution that you're looking at. For us, and I'm just going to speak at UMass Lowell as far as kind of how we do it. For us, it comes after you've cleared all those checklists that we were talking about, as far as having your health forms in, at least making sure that everything is well with financial aid. You have your payment plan; those things are signed off on. And then after that, once you have come up for an orientation, typically the orientation process starts you on the way of being able to register and kind of know what your classes are, because you'll probably be meeting with your advisor or your secondary advisor at the time. So they'll be running through, okay, this is basically what you're going to be having for your first semester. You're going to have these classes at this time. They may even let you, depending on what university it is, they may even let you choose the times in which you can, choose your classes. But all of that, for the most part, is done during orientation. So you don't want to miss orientation. You don't want to kind of, like, for lack of a better word, kind of toss that away, or try to do the late registration or the late orientation, or the one that they do for transfers, because I know some universities will let freshmen kind of grab onto the transfer one if it gets really late and they really want to get in. So you want to make sure that you're in for your orientation on time, because if you're in for your orientation on time, your classes, your registration, all of that stuff will be taken care of during the orientation process. And in some cases, you might even get a chance to meet a couple of your professors, depending on if they're available at the time too. So that typically takes place during the orientation period. And then as you become a sophomore and junior, those things are a little bit looser, and you have a little bit more say in how you're going to, register for classes. Sometimes you can register from classes in the summer, kind of remotely and things like that, as you become an upperclassman. But for the most part, as freshmen, it's primarily done during your orientation period.
Awesome. Thank you, Troy. Ian, I have a question that I want to ask you. So a student wants to know, do they need to keep up their grades? And do schools really care about the final transcript?
Yes, we absolutely do. So when you're applying to college, part of the most essential part of the review process is looking through your performance to see whether or not you'll succeed at a school or at an institution academically. And so for a lot of schools, part of that agreement when they admit you is seeing that you are consistent with the academic record that you sent to those schools. Senior year is a time when often you're taking some of those tougher courses or some of those college preparatory courses where you're getting ready for the college experience. And so staying locked in, even though it can be hard, senior year is a time to enjoy, to celebrate, which we touched at towards the end of the presentation. At the same time, it's important to stay committed because you're going to be a student after this as well. And so colleges will be checking up on transcripts throughout the semester, throughout the summer, to see how you performed, and that can affect potential decisions, that can affect your transition through to your first year at a potential institution. So stay the course. Senioritis is a real thing. I recognize that, but at the same time, it's important to stay in class, stay committed to those grades that you've already maintained throughout your high school career.
Awesome. Thank you, Ian. There is a question in the Q&A that is basically talking about any changes that have happened from the point of them submitting their application until now. So Kimberly, how should a student go about updating colleges about anything that's happened since submitting their application? For example, if they've switched schools or if their parent has enrolled them in an online academy, anything like that.
Yeah, that's a great question. And we recognize that change is ever present in our lives, personally as well as academically. So just going back to what I've said earlier, the best thing that you can do is connect with the colleges or universities that you're planning on attending and just being transparent with them about your situation. So I know for a lot of my students that I work with, there have been some hardships that they've faced in their senior year, which has impacted their grades in a negative way. But if you are able to go ahead and connect with those colleges or universities and let them know, they may be able to work with you if that is the case for you. If there's another extenuating circumstance that might be impacting you in a way that would impact your future enrollment into the university or your admissibility as well, if you don't meet minimum course requirements, for example. Again, that's a conversation that you would want to have with your admissions office. They can definitely do their best to work out a plan for you, whether it's an alternate pathway into the university or potentially looking at some things to do over the summer before you actually transition. So I hope that helps to answer your question.
Thanks, Kimberly. There is a question about financial aid. So there are a couple of questions about financial aid, actually. So I'm going to kind of throw this out to you, Troy. So one is about a student who has not done the FAFSA yet and has not received an admissions package. So what should they do in that situation? And then what if they've received a financial aid package and it's just not enough? Who should they talk to? How should they go about that?
I'll start with the second part of your question first, because that tends to be something that's way more common. And it's also something that I actually dealt with too. And then if there's any athletes on here too, that's something that can get, misconstrued, turned upside down or whatever. So if you're a student that you've got your financial aid package and it's upfront and you know that it's not going to be enough to cover you, immediately contact your financial aid office at that school and communicate with them. In some cases, they might ask you to file what they call a financial aid appeal, where you'll have to kind of write out why you're in need of this money, or what might have taken place from the time that they read your FAFSA for the first time to right now. In my situation, my parents had gotten separated, so the finances had completely changed. So both of my parents had to kind of write an appeal and had to write, the fact that they're, in separation and, things like that, and finances changed. And I actually was an athlete too. So I did get a partial scholarship to the university I was going to, but the rest of it was covered through by financial aid. And at the time it was covered through a one whole family unit. But once my parents were divorced, it was a different situation. So I had to get that information to them right away, and they were able to make the adjustments, and I was able to get what I needed. So what I tell students is, please don't be embarrassed by whatever may be going on in your financial personal life, because the Office of Financial Aid is there to assist you, right? You don't want to get behind the ball, because they will want to assist you, but the money that you need has already been picked up by another student who beat you to it, right? Who had the same problem, but spoke up before you did. So if you know that there's a situation immediately, speak on it immediately. If you find out a little bit later, make sure you speak on it as soon as you find out. It's all timing when it comes to dealing with financial aid. And then it also might be documentation too. So if you know something is coming down the pike, just kind of get your parents prepared to show documentation for whatever financial changes that might be coming down the road. So financial aid can kind of see that, they'll have it all together, and they can get it worked out as best as they possibly can. Now, for the student that has applied but hasn't received their financial aid package yet, you want to call the school and find out when they plan on issuing those, because some schools have different times as to when they issue those. If you're doing early action, some students might have already received an early action packet, right? So they know their financial aid. If you're doing regular action, there's a certain time in which regular action financial aid will come out. So you just want to contact first, because it might be a timing issue, the university that you're interested in going in, and finding out what their timing is, and make sure everything has gone along the process as it should, so that you can get the answers and you can see your award letter as soon as possible. So if you have to make those adjustments that we talked about, you can do them right then.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Troy. And the FAFSA is open and has been open. So definitely, if you've not done that yet and you're going to school in the fall, you'll want to get that done as soon as possible. Another question now that I have for you, Ian, don't know if you'll know exactly the answer, but we're going to ask you to tackle this anyway. So a student said that they'll be a minor when they start college, and their parents might not sign consent for any required boosters. I know we were talking about vaccinations and things having to be done. So how should a student go about making sure that that doesn't limit their options? They're worried that they won't be able to attend their college of choice because their parents or guardians not signing that. So any advice for the student?
Yeah, that's a really great question, and a really I hate to say that it depends, but it truly does depend. Each institution is going to have its own policies, and those policies are changing for our institution week by week, honestly. And so it's important to be communicative with these institutions to see what their policies might be and how flexible they may be, how they might respond and try to make things work for you as a student. And so reaching out to admissions offices, if you have a point of contact already that you've been in communication with, to let them know your situation. Many colleges will be willing to have these different kinds of conversations, as this is a very challenging time for many families and many students, and having to navigate different rules and regulations surrounding the pandemic. So it'll depend on each institution, how they might respond to this situation. But the best thing you can do for yourself is reach out to them, be communicative, and don't be nervous or afraid. The best way to have this situation handled is to be open and allow yourself, your school of choice, to work through this in whatever ways they have to, with the policies and regulations that they have. I hope that helps a bit.
Yeah, I definitely think that it does. So Kimberly, another student wanted to know if there are different orientation dates, doesn't matter which one they decide to attend.
All right, our favorite word tonight is it depends. So different colleges and universities run their orientation sessions differently. I can speak to UNC Charlotte. It does not necessarily matter when you select your orientation date because we hold class seats for each orientation session. So all students have a fair and equal chance of registering for their classes. Now, I also want to emphasize to you all, if you do enroll in a late orientation session and all the class seats are full for the classes that you wanted and you don't get that dream schedule during your orientation session, that is perfectly fine. There is an add drop period right before classes start in the fall. So you all will most likely not keep the same schedule that you got at orientation as you entering into the fall semester of your first year. So just be encouraged that orientation is just that, to orient you to the campus, to get you a feel of how to register for classes, how to add them to your cart, and create your schedule. That way you'll have a easier time being able to do that on your own and more self-sufficiently before you start classes. So I hope that helps.
Yes, awesome. So I know we were talking about enrollment deposits and things, and one student wants to know what happens if they commit going to one school but end up going to a different one. And Troy, do you mind answering that one?
Oh yeah, that's a this one can be a tricky one, right? Because for one, let's start at the admissions point. So if you applied early decision to a school, which kind of locks you in, that can be tough to get out of, because that's almost like a legal binding agreement that says that you're going to come to school here. So they're kind of laying their finances on you attending that university. So with you pulling out of that university, now they have to subtract what they thought they were going to be receiving from you as far as your tuition, right? So in some cases, you might have to pay your way out now. So you have to be very careful when dealing with early decision. Early decision, you're saying, I am contractually signed to come to this university and I'm coming there if I get accepted, right? So that can be a tricky situation to get out of, and it can be very murky. So I don't want to delve too deep into that because we don't have this at my university. But working on the other side of the desk a couple of years ago as a counselor in high school, I've seen students kind of go through that. And really, unless it's like a dire straight situation, you kind of have to pay your way out of that. As far as just any other university, it's always about communication. If you're not contractually signed, no one can hold you to go into that university, right? We can't hold you to it unless you contractually sign to a early decision piece. Now, you might not be able to get your enrollment feedback depending on, how that school works. As Kimberly was saying that, some schools, you pay your enrollment deposit and you decide to go somewhere else, they might say, well, we don't have a refund for that. Or they might say, okay, yeah, we can refund you, but it won't be until a certain date. So you can change. You can definitely change. You don't want to try to change like right when school starts, because that's kind of tough. That can put you behind the ball academically. A school could be full as far as their enrollment at that point. So then now you go on a de facto waiting list, and that waiting list might not open up until that next semester. So you could potentially be in a situation where you're at a school, or you're not in a school at all. You were at one, but now you're in this kind of like limbo where you're not in any school, and you have to wait until that next semester to get on to that next school, which then now puts you behind a semester. So it's all about communication, and it's all about getting that feel and knowing early. So going to that orientation, going and doing those visits right now, that is going to kind of help smooth out that situation as to whether or not you really want to be at that school, because you don't want to put yourself behind the ball socially and academically because you chose a university and you're like, oh my gosh, what did I do? Now I'm here, I want to switch. In some cases, you might be able to do it if you've done it early enough, but 9 times out of 10, you got to ride that one out. So you definitely want to try to kind of feel out those situations early on or before you kind of get on campus and kind of put your stuff on and say, this is where I'm going to go. But like I said, bringing it back to the beginning, no school, unless you sign an early decision agreement with them, is going to say, nah, you can't go anywhere. You're locked in with us for life. It's not going to happen.
Awesome. Thank you, Troy. So there is a question here, and I'll kind of just ask all of you all because it might be different at each school. So a student wanted to know, when do schools assign advisors? Do any of you all assign advisors during the summer before the school year starts? Okay, so I see a nodding of heads. So most schools, it looks like, will assign advisors in the summer, but then they typically have a chance to meet them once they get onto campus. Okay, awesome. Then the next question for you, Ian, will be, how can a student find out which of their AP, IB, any of those classes will give them any credit? Any advice on that?
Yeah, that's a really great question and can be connected with advisors as well. So different institutions can link these to different spaces. For some, it might be admissions, once a student is admitted, to see how many credits they might have when they're coming in. For others, it could be the registrar's office. And then for others, it can be through advising. So again, it depends, but look at each institution that you are considering to see what that particular process is like. Very often, though, you'll be able to see on a website or a page, schools know that many students are taking college prep courses, AP, IB, etc. And so there'll be a page that lists what credits you can get for what scores or what exams that can help you have a easy map to see how things will work out. So the best way to equip yourself with that knowledge is probably just to go to those college sites and look at departments and academic departments and see what credits they may grant. But otherwise, probably somewhere between admissions, registrar's office, or advisors once they're assigned those summers before your first year.
Awesome, thanks. So quick question for everyone here. Do any of your schools have any sort of summer transition programs that they offer for first year students? Okay, awesome. So a student wanted to know, how helpful is an early admissions transition program like summer courses before the usual start date? And I'll throw that over to Kimberly.
Perfect. This is one of my favorite programs to talk about. So at UNC Charlotte, we have what's called UTOP, our University Transition Opportunities Program. So that does give our first year students the opportunity to come to campus, take a few classes, But also it gives you the opportunity to be in a nice close-knit cohort setting, and you can learn from other students who are starting college for the first time. You'll be matched up with current students on campus who will serve as your mentor and your guide. You'll also live on campus for the duration of that summer. So I just think it's a really great option for students. And I know it feels like, your summer's being taken away from you, but I promise it's all going to be worth it when you can go ahead and build your GPA early on in college, which is really great, and have those additional support systems in place so that you can have that smooth transition into your first semester. I did a similar program when I went off to college, and it really taught me the value of time management skills. And that's something you don't learn until it just hits you. And I promise you don't want to be hit with that too late, because then that will definitely impact your GPA. So highly recommend a summer bridge program for all of my students out there, no matter where you go. An awesome opportunity to get more connected to the campus and really establish your roots there.
Awesome. Thank you, Kimberly. This question I'm going to kind of throw out to everyone. I'm not sure who will know this, but we do have international students who are on the call with us tonight. And they're wondering, what is the typical turnaround time for receiving an I-20? Do any of you all know that information?
It depends. Once again, it depends. That's another one that's chock full of paperwork. So what I would say is contact your specific universities that you're thinking about attending. Contact a couple of them, because each university is going to have a different time stamp for those. So yeah, definitely contact the specific universities and ask them, because it's going to be different across the board. So whatever I tell you from UMass Lowell could be different literally from the next college. So yeah, that's definitely a contact the university question.
Yep. And then I'll just go ahead and throw in there too, especially with anything going on with your I-20 student visa. You definitely want to be in touch with the school, the admissions office, but also most schools will have an international students office as well. And you can kind of contact them, and they're going to be able to tell you all of the ins and outs of student visa stuff, especially right now. So yes, it depends, and reach out to the institution and they'll be able to help you. So a question that I have then, it looks like there are quite a few questions again about FAFSA and financial aid. So the first one that I'll ask you, Troy, if a student submits a FAFSA to a school, does that mean that they have to go to that school?
Oh, no. That's that's just a playbook, if you will, for your financial outlook, right? So each school is going to, you're going to, as you put your name on it, you're going to put a bunch of different schools, as many schools as it allows for you on that FAFSA, and they're all going to have an access, to that financial playbook for you, so that they can, make sure that they're matching you up with the right amount of funds that you need to attend school, period.
Awesome. Thank you. And then Ian, the next question, a student wanted to know, do they have to update their FAFSA if they get a job in the next few months?
No, I think that the best thing to do if you have financial updates after you've already filled out your FAFSA is communicate with the school's financial aid office if that's something that could affect your package. If it's something like a job or a summer job after a point where you've already received a financial aid package, then that's a little different. But for instance, if there's been a financial situation or event that perhaps negatively affects your family's financial situation, that's something that schools can adjust financial aid for. So feel free to, if something happens, God forbid, contact institution and let them know. And in most cases, they're able to help out and adjust your financial aid accordingly.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add on to that once again, if there's any athletes on here, the rules now are changing as far as like athletes being able to have jobs and actually being able to have money and go to school. So it hasn't hit every single school yet, but it's being written into process for how each school is doing it and how each division is doing it. As far as Division 1, Division 2, and Division 3. Division 3, I'm just gonna say Division 1 and Division 2. Division 3 is totally different. They have a total different subset. They don't hold you as tight to your financial aid, you having a job and being an athlete, as much as Division 1 and Division 2 do now. So with that being said, let's say, you do have a job or you want to get a job and you're a full scholarship or a partial scholarship athlete, you definitely want to call the financial aid office, and you definitely want to talk with the athletics office just to make sure that the rules have hit that university so you can have that job. Because before you couldn't, or you had to make under a certain amount of money. Now it's open up so that you can actually be just like any other student who, if you wanted to go ahead and get a job, you can get a job. If you wanted to purchase a car, you could purchase a car. But before, it was you couldn't do any of those things if you were a full scholarship athlete, Division I, and at specific Division II level. So as these rules are changing, it's also good, like we're always going to say, is to communicate with the college and the financial aid office if those changes are taking place.
Awesome. And then Troy, I know earlier you had talked about appealing for more financial aid. So a student wanted to know if they received a merit-based scholarship, but they did not qualify for federal aid. Are colleges still open to financial aid appeals?
They're always open to appeals. They're always open to hear. They might not always be open to a yes, but they're always open to hear. Like I said, the squeaky wheel gets the oil, right? You never know. You know, some new grant funding could come into the university and they'll have a cachet of dollars to be able to give out. But if you don't put your appeal in, all these other students that did put their appeal in, they're going to be able to get that new grant money that hit the university that you could have used. So if you feel like you need to put an appeal in, do not be, the school is not going to be upset that you put an appeal in. You know, they're not frustrated over the fact that you want to be there and you want to be able to afford school. It's more difficult for them to say you have to leave school and then hope that you pay them even though you're not at the university, right? Because you couldn't keep up with your payments. It's more likely that they'll want to help you as you're going through the process and as you're coming into the process than if you're almost on the way out of the door because of financial issues. So definitely get all that stuff done early and appeal as much and as often as you can if things change.
Awesome. Thank you, Troy. And then Kimberly, I know you had talked about how these summer bridge programs can be a wonderful opportunity to get your feet wet. But a student wanted to know, what if they've already registered for other summer camps or they already have summer plans? What should they do?
Yeah, good question. So I would say you're not obligated or bound to attend a summer bridge program at your prospective college or university. Your time is yours and you should spend it accordingly and how you want to. However, if you would like to get involved with your college or university over the summer, again, I would reach out and ask what opportunities are available to you. For a lot of students who sign up for like the university's listserv, you all will receive emails about events going on in the summer. So I would contact your admissions office and they may be able to get you in contact with other organizations on campus that host summer opportunities for students. Like I know we have like a coding boot camp for students over the summer. So that's an option for students who are kind of interested in the computer science field. So some are major specific, some are more general like the summer bridge program, but it's definitely dependent upon the student and what you were looking to do with your time over the summer.
Awesome. Thank you, Kimberly. And this question is going to go out to all of you also. Are any of you all familiar with College Bound? A student wants to know, what part does College Bound play in going to college?
Yeah, so we work with College Bound. They are another community-based organization. They can help with a lot of different things. They can help you with what we talked about earlier, as far as getting yourself ready and having checklists and things like that. And then some College Bound programs also have scholarships that you can apply for that can be reciprocated year to year based off of your GPA and things like that. So they're a great supplement to have as a student coming in to a university for the first time. So if you're connected with them, great. Once again, ask them tons of questions too. They have specific dates and deadlines for scholarships and stuff like that, but they also have a plan and a playbook too that we similarly have and showed you today by this program that can also help you out on the back end. And depending on where they are, they also might have more knowledge of the local colleges in the area because they've been there and they've been working with the local colleges in the area. So they might be able to connect you with other advisors other than your academic advisors. They might connect you with one of the advisors in the Office of Multicultural Affairs or one of the advisors in a specific major because they've been so entrenched in that community. You can gain a lot from those types of more local community-based organizations and pair it up with Coalition. I mean, use all the information that you can get, right? Get all the help that you can get because you don't want to go into college with your ammunition on low, right? You want to have all of your academic and social and emotional ammunition ready to go so that you can make your college transition a whole lot easier.
Awesome. Thank you, Troy. So I know we are running out of time, but I did want to ask one quick question or ask you all at some point, if you could just drop a link to any sort of information about the admissions office, admissions process, touring campus. I think we also have some students on who might not have already applied and they'd want to learn more about your institution. So if you can drop that in the chat, that'd be great. And then to close things out for the night, just like to ask each of you to give a word of advice or some tips to these students as they're moving forward. Could even be around if they are possibly doubting or second guessing their decision after they've made it, or once they get onto campus and they start feeling a little homesick. So I'll go ahead and I'll let Ian kick it off, and then we'll do Kimberly and then round it out with Troy.
Great. Well, it's been a pleasure, first of all, getting to connect with y'all, answer some questions, talk about college transitions. I guess the advice that I have as you move forward in this very transitional, crazy time is to take your time. Really, deep breaths are a gift. Taking time to recognize the changes that you'll be going through for the next few months and celebrate the successes that you're having and getting to this point, to graduating, to going to college, to being there is always something that should be appreciated, even when it can be stressful trying to choose between different institutions. And then once you're actually there, you are going to be grateful for those moments where you were able to appreciate the points that you got to. Once you're actually there, you'll be able to reflect on memories from beforehand. And I would like to encourage you to hold on to those connections that you find most valuable. Be sure to contact your family. My mother would always yell at me for how little I called, but I started to call a little bit more often, sophomore, junior year. I think if I had called more during my freshman year, that could have helped actually with transition, just to be able to connect with those roots that you have, remind you of what got you there and what keeps you there, can help with drumming up energy, motivation, staying healthy, motivated, well throughout the first year. So those are my last couple of tips.
Yes, I co-sign everything that Ian just said. Again, thank you all so much for having us tonight. It was a pleasure being able to present about your next steps, and I hope you're able to take away a lot of great information that you maybe didn't have before. But I would say my piece of advice, in addition to being present, don't be afraid to ask for help. Know that there are people and mentors and counselors and advisors and teachers that are in place to really make sure that you're successful and holistically too. I always emphasize that my students need to ensure that they're healthy in mind, body, and spirit, because you can't necessarily show up as your whole self if you're not feeling the best in a certain area of your life. So know that that's okay. Know that we are all struggling at this point in time, so you're not alone. And don't be afraid to reach out to the people who really value you and want to make sure that you are successful in every sense of the word. So yeah, I'm really excited for all of you all to take on new endeavors and progress in your journeys, continue showing up for yourself and for others, and letting everyone know and checking in with everyone, letting them know if you're okay, if you're not okay, and we are all here for you. So thanks.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna second everything our team said. I appreciate you guys coming in and asking the questions, and I appreciate our team too. One thing I will say is it's okay to be a little homesick. It's okay to be a little uncomfortable. Don't beat up on yourself because you feel that way, right? Because the kids or the students that beat up on themselves and feel like I feel bad that I feel this way are the ones that let them fool themselves out of the university. Every student feels it. I don't care how much fun the next student looks like they're having the first 2 weeks of school. They are also uncomfortable. They are also homesick. It's just their way of battling it is a little bit different than your way of battling it. So find your positive way of battling that homesickness or that little bit of uncomfortability in the beginning, because it's a change. It's a change. Get involved. Get involved wherever you feel. You can add. The best part of you to the university. You go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it, and that way it'll help become more of a home than it is just a place where you're at, because you'll be adding more of yourself to it. It's like planting seed in a garden. You're putting your seed in that garden so that you can look at it and feel comfortable.
All right, awesome. And with that, we will bid everyone adieu. Good night. Thank you all so much for joining and for all the great questions. And good luck on your next steps. Bye, everyone.